there.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, I'm so grateful that you are there and you have the image of Yeshua.
So we
my,
wanted to ask you how.
my heart is beating so fast now. I'm just so grateful, excited to have both of you. Thank you so much for allowing me to interview you.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're happy to do that.
Do
you pronounce your name Anya?
Anya, yes.
Okay.
Pretty.
And I recently started my YouTube channel, and I decided to only interview those special beings who impacted my life in a very significant way. And I have to start with this, that before I will introduce both of you, I want to say how grateful I am that I came across both of you. And as much as I appreciate Gina's books, what really touched me is the Saturday transmissions that both of you are hosting, and your energy combine, and the music and the energy of Jesus. And with every single transmission that I had quite few with you, I always get very emotional, and I was always very connected, and I was moved. So I want to start with this a little bit from the end.
That's great. It's wonderful. It touches us so much to hear how much people are affected by the transmissions. And by the way, we do offer them 4 times a week now. So it's not just on Saturdays.
Do? Okay. I stopped doing them some time ago, especially when this whole lockdown situation has started.
Yeah.
It was a little different timing for other things. That doesn't mean I don't feel his presence with me. But I want to introduce to everyone Gina first, because Gina is a prolific author, over 30 books right now. I am an author myself. So huge congratulations for so much work that you have done. Writing books is not easy process, I can tell. So speaking in so much volume to people is beautiful. So Gina also is a spiritual teacher. I was listening to interview actually that you gave Gina on one of the channels a while back. And I was really fascinated by your spiritual journey, how it was evolving through different stages and belief systems and dogmas, and releasing a lot of things and waking up. So I'm very impressed with that too, because there was so much humanity in that journey. And also your relationship happened to come to life during one of the satsangs. I think that's how you met.
Yeah,
and
20 years ago.
Congratulations on that. And how is this, let me ask you first, 2 of you, how is your union in this stage of evolution because Gina is channeling Jesus, and I know that Nirmala is very important in this journey. I could see this through the transmissions now too. There is this grounding, this beautiful, loving energy coming from the back seat. So how is this when you are together? This is my first question. How does this work for both of you?
Were you asking me or asking Gina?
You can start with Gina.
Your video is breaking up, so I didn't hear.
You can start with ladies first. Ladies first.
Okay.
Well, I think this is an example of divine providence to bring us together because we are so well matched on every level. And I feel like my life didn't even begin until I met him. And since then, and that was, and I was 48 years old then. So since then, it's just gotten better and better. We have a very easy relationship, and our work fits perfectly together. And now the work that we're doing now, who knew that we were going to do that 20 years ago? We had no idea we'd be doing these transmissions online. And so we've evolved together in the same direction. It's such a blessing. He's my best friend. He's the most wonderful person on the planet to me and to many others probably. It's just it's grace. It's just divine intervention. It makes you believe that there is some force. I mean, not that I didn't believe, because I've always believed that, but it certainly reinforces that sense that there's a guiding hand in life and that we have a life purpose and that certain people are very integral to that life purpose, important, essential to that life purpose. Not only his teachings, but just all of his particular abilities are things that I don't have ability in. It's like you put us together and we're really a great team. Apart, we would be missing pieces. So that's how I see it. So I'm just very blessed.
It's beautiful. It's truly a blessing. You know, I am 48 years old right now. How significant is this? Because you met Nirmala when you were 48, and I have to tell you that I from the first moment how I came across you, Gina, was very interesting because I was on this journey when I needed sense of confirmation from God. And I was reading one book by Robert Schwartz. It's called Your Soul's Purpose. And from this book, another book showed up about a lady who was channeling Jesus. And after that book, the recommendation from Kindle was you. And
nice.
Yeah. And I followed that path. And then I read several of your books. The first one I read was Jesus Speaks. And then I went on YouTube channel right away after I finished because I wanted to hear your voice. I was curious if you are on YouTube, and you are. So that's how my connection with you happened, because I was guided step by step. And what I would like to ask you, Gina, how is the channeling, what Jesus and this transmission of his energy through you means to you? Because it must be evolving also with you. How is it, what is this represents for you right now?
Well, it did evolve from channeling to also, in addition, transmitting his energy. So that certainly was an evolution. My channeling developed when I was 35 years old in 1986. And so it's always been easy for me to channel. And so there wasn't a lot of evolution, except in the beginning. I had a rough period in the beginning, which I've talked about. But once I got over that rough period, channeling books has just been like falling off a log for me. It's easy. I can channel anywhere. There was another being I was channeling before Jesus for 25 years who was behind my books earlier. And it was just as easy to channel Jesus when he began to come through.
May I ask you here, it was Theodore, right?
Yes.
Theodore.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they are connected still or no?
Yes.
They are.
What I discovered in 2012, when I had a kind of an opening and I began to not just hear, but I also saw into the other dimension, and I saw beings, and I experienced a kind of initiation by a circle of beings that I'm told that circle of beings is behind the Christ consciousness transmissions that we're giving. And Theo is part of that circle of beings. So Theo and Jesus, I'm told, have really, and the circle of beings have actually been with me all my life.
Wow.
But it was at a certain point, Theo stepped back and Jesus stepped forward, but they've been keeping an eye on me and behind all of my work, all of my life, which also explains why the books I wrote with Theodore about awakening are so similar to the books that I'm writing with Jesus. They're on the same page, they're on the same level of consciousness. And so it was nice to discover that that work, it didn't become antiquated. It still is useful, and it formed the basis for what I'm doing now with Jesus. And, you know, I could talk to Theodore anytime I wanted to still. He's still there. Um, so,
So Gina, you said, and I'm just quoting from this interview that you gave a while back, that I think you can hear me, just checking internet, that Theodore was on the 6th dimension.
density, yeah.
Density, yes. I tend not to use the levels in my life and speak the 3rd and 4th. I don't like to categorize so much because for me, I tend to the feeling inside of me, and I will not say I'm on the 4th or 5th, but I do believe that there is a certain order in the universe and that there is a certain hologram or structure. So with that being said, within this order, there are beings that are evolving, and as they are evolving, we are evolving because it's all connected. So I would like to ask your thoughts or your inner knowing to describe Jesus. Is there a way you can even say on what level of consciousness he is?
Well, you know, I'm not very much involved with teaching or writing about levels. I know that the ascended masters, the enlightened beings who are guiding the planet and involved with humanity are on a high level. And I don't know what you want to call it. I think it's I'm not sure exactly how it all works out. I think they're on this. Well, I don't even really want to explain
It's
that because
beyond.
I'm not. It's beyond the astral, that's for sure. The astral plane is the 4th, and we don't find real helpful beings there. So on the 5th level is where you get the spirit guides, and then the ascended masters, and the 6th level are also combined entities where they've recombined again. So I'm not sure if it's that the ascended masters don't recombine purposefully so that they can be more of guides for human beings. That's sort of the impression that I get, is they choose to hold back their own evolution in order to support ours. But there's really not that much difference between 5th and 6th. 6th dimensional or 6th density are also guides. Theodore is a 6th density being. So I'm not sure how it all works. And frankly, I'm not one of those people who is terribly curious about those things, because I just care so much about practical information. What do we need to know to live this human life? That's what I care about.
Yes.
The other stuff is not verifiable by me, so I'd rather not, I'm not that curious.
It can be very confusing, and I agree. And actually, how beautifully you answer my next question within answering this question, because you just said that Jesus kind of, his evolution is in a way put on the on a standby, I will say, to help us to go through this transition right now. And I will just share a little bit of my personal experience with him, because I think a lot of people will benefit from this. I grew up in Poland, in a country that is very strong on religion. And we grow up in a certain structure of belief system. So when I really was older, and I moved to United States. My spiritual journey has taken a different road, and I had my first meditation about over 10, 12 years ago. And within this very first meditation, I left my body and I had a vision. Actually, it was so powerful vision that I was processing this for like over a day after. I saw Jesus and he spoken to me without opening his mouth, but he spoken to me and
Yeah, they don't have to open their mouths.
right. And he showed me, he asked me to reach out to him with open hands. And when I did that, on one hand, he put beautiful, very deep red burgundy color, pulsing heart. And on another hand, and that was very interesting, on another hand, he put a pile of dollars. It was very strange. I couldn't, and I was holding this like balanced. And then I had a vision like I'm holding a child. And because this whole seminar actually was over 400 people, and I'm very sensitive to energy and to the sounds and to everything. So my neighbor was coughing, and when he could feel that I'm a little disturbed, he threw a cape behind me, like a very deep purple cape, and he said, "They don't bother you, do they?" And I was just, because I felt he was always there, and I told him, "You're always there," and he just smiled. I can tear up now because I actually written in my book, the whole chapter is dedicated to this. I written a book about my spiritual journey, my life. So I had many experiences, not this way, like through meditation, but through prayer and through reading your books too, because I can feel him through your words. I mean, his words through your book, his book. So yeah, so, you know, I want to ask you this, actually both of you, because I find Nirmala incredibly, your spiritual energy, your energy is so loving and so kind and just so soothing. This is the right word. I was trying to find soothing. That I want to ask you, because Gina, you said this, and to some extent, I think, unfortunately, that's how it is most of the times. Do you think, guys, that suffering is necessary right now for the people to wake up?
That's a good question. It's, you know, suffering is actually optional because suffering is just a thought. All the suffering in our experiences comes from our thoughts that it should be different. I want it to be different. I wish this wasn't happening. There isn't actually suffering in the experiences. And so it's kind of tricky because we do suffer, but it's all coming from our minds. And so if you just surrender to and allow the experience, then there doesn't need to be any suffering. But that is also though how we evolve, is we experience suffering until we understand that we don't need to experience suffering. So it's, you know, we learn about suffering by suffering. And then we learn that it's actually not necessary, that we can be, you know, in a sense, happy for no reason. And that's a good way of putting it, because it's when there's no reasoning that we're happy, you know, when there's no thoughts or ideas about how it should be different.
So, for example,
I was just going to say that, yeah, the setup is that suffering does wake us up here. It's duality, and it's the negative pole becomes so unbearable. Our default is the negative pole. So we're all just programmed with an ego that causes suffering, so that it is inevitable to one extent or another until we come to some understanding of the truth, which the truth will set you free. it set you free from suffering. So, but we have to find our way to that truth. It isn't our default to know the truth or to even seek the truth. So something else has to intervene, and we have to decide to seek it. And it's the suffering that causes us to seek answers to alleviate the suffering. So I'm afraid it is fairly necessary at this stage on this planet, in our state of humanity.
And a lot of people actually enjoy their suffering. You know, that for a long time, it's like there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of struggles, there's a lot of, you know, accomplishments, overcoming things, and, you know, all fueled by suffering. So for a long time, we're just too busy, you know, struggling through our life. And if you really stop and sense into it, you can sense at that moment people are enjoying their suffering. But just like any, you know, any game you played as a child that you got tired of, you know, that at a certain point you just, like if somebody wanted to have you play tic-tac-toe right now, you just, you know, who wants to do that? You know, I did that enough when I was a little kid. So at a certain point, the suffering wears you out, you know, you wear out the fun of it. Yeah.
So how for both of you, this current situation, I live in California, which God told me to move here. At this stage, I don't feel quite good energy in this area. How, with the masks and very oppressive state government, how do you rise above? For example, when I walk on the streets and I try to really practice compassion and not be judgmental about people who believe different than I do and who choose, for example, to wear the mask all the time, which is not really good for their health. How you rise above certain restrictions like that, and you take the higher road.
You know, it's my basic philosophy is I hold everything lightly, and so the question, you know, all the questions about this situation and I think there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of good information out there, but I hold it all lightly, and so it's paradoxical, really, the way you rise above any kind of inner conflict or struggle is by going into it, by actually really sensing into it as deeply as you can and finding what is truly the source of the inner conflict. And it, you know, if you penetrate it that way, instead of trying to get rid of it or fix it, but you go into it, feel into it, sense into it, then you can actually, in a sense, drop into the heart of it, which everyone, no matter what their beliefs, no matter what their actions, no matter what their approach to life or to these problems, it's all coming from love. That's the only force in the universe.
Yes.
Everybody's trying to take care of something, usually primarily themselves.
Yes.
But that's still a form of love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes, well, but I think it's very often misunderstood as well, because it can come from fear, and it's very tricky. It really depends. It's really an observer. What we see, what we are. So
Right.
I think that is very interesting how this is such a mirror. This current situation is a mirror of really our own inner thoughts or inner balance or out of balance. How, I want to ask Gina this question, when you are going through the day and you're doing like regular things, is there are moments when you hear Jesus talk to you, or you have to in a way ask a question, or he just speaks to you sometimes in those moments, just all of a sudden?
Higher beings, for the most part, do not speak to you unless you've opened your channel, asked a question. They do not intervene in your life in that way. It's one of the differences between lower beings and higher beings. So there's a sense of opening my channel. I might not even have a question totally formed, but there's a sense of I am addressing him. The thought of him comes in my mind, and then an answer comes, but it won't come without me initiating for the most part. I mean, there may be some exceptions, but it's hard to, there's always a connection that I have with Jesus, and there's always some level of kind of connecting with him throughout my day on a real subtle level. So yeah, there is a sense of guidance that I get, but honestly, what I'm so intuitive at this point that I don't need words. I just know. I just know what's right. I just know what to do. And it's been like that for a long time. It was like that prior to Jesus. I have an unwavering sense and clarity about what I need to do. If I don't have that clarity, I don't do it. I wait. So that's one of the great benefits of having a good intuition. So sometimes I say to people who want to channel that, if you have a well-developed intuition, you don't need to channel. It's just cumbersome to have a conversation with a being. If you are fully developed intuitively, it's just instant. The knowing is just instant. And that's how we're all meant to be guided. That's the development of the intuition. That's where it leads to. That's where it goes. Its end point is this place of just instant knowing. You don't even have a question. You don't even need to ask. You're just like, oh, 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 oh. It's like a download.
Yes. Thank you again for this answer, because it's truly like you're giving me the answer to like two questions that I haven't even asked yet. And it's just amazing. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful because my book is actually about the power of intuition and inner voice. And just listening to you, Gina, actually in that interview again, this is so important. And this is really personal question for you right now. I am strong on intuition, yet I have those moments when I am still confused and I hear the voice. You know where I'm going with this. How to understand or how to know which voice is the right voice.
Well, if you're confused, then you're listening to the wrong voice. The voice of intuition is not a voice. It's a download. It's a, oh yeah, it's a knowing. There's no words. You might put that intuition into words after you've received it, but the intuition doesn't come to you in words. It hits you.
It hits you like a light bulb. Like a sense. It's a feeling.
Yeah. And I don't think I would like especially to use the word feeling, because I don't want to confuse that with emotion, because emotions are not good guides. Human emotions are not good guides. Joy is a good guide. Love is a good guide. Go follow joy, follow love. But don't follow guilt, don't follow fear, don't follow, those human emotions. Those aren't good guides. So I would say that it's more like a light bulb going on, like a download, like a aha moment. Okay. You're like, oh, clarity just hit. And if it doesn't feel like that, it might not be time for clarity to hit. Mm-hmm. And then the mind doesn't like that, so it makes up stuff. And it'll make up two sides of everything. So that's where the confusion comes in, because if you spin around in your mind, you'll be confused
Yes.
because the egoic
You
mind, the voice.
rationalize. Yes, you rationalize pros and
It,
cons.
right, right. And the answer doesn't lie there. And if the answer isn't coming through your intuition yet, then just wait. If you feel confused, just wait. You have to wait. The thing about intuition, it has its own perfect timing of when it arrives. You can't just say, oh, please, Jesus, tell me what to do, and then you get an answer. It doesn't happen that way. It's like you open to that possibility, and then you're walking about your day at some point and you get it. Or maybe it's a week later and you get it. Or maybe it's a month later and you get it. It isn't up to you when you finally know. It's only up to you to be open to that and to be patient enough to just wait and not go with the first answer that your mind gives you. Because your mind wants answers, it wants to make a decision now. You know, I mean, think of that phrase, make a decision, make it. Who's making it? The ego? Well, good luck with that then. Don't make a decision, allow a decision to just happen. It happens, a decision happens. All of a sudden, you just know what you want to do.
So this is really allowing grace to carry us throughout the life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you learn, you learn from the moments where where you don't listen, where you don't wait.
Yeah.
You still learn from those experiences. So it's still grace. Grace doesn't abandon you by the side of the road. Grace says, okay, you made that decision. Now we'll show you what that's
And grace isn't involved in every decision in our
like.
life. You know, what color you paint your walls or something like that. It's up to you. You know, your personality, your personal human self gets to make a lot of choices, and grace doesn't care. You know, so this guiding hand isn't involved in everything. There are lots of choices that we make that are okie dokie with grace. You know?
Whatever you decide.
Yeah.
So when you are doing the transitions, Gina, and Nirmala, you're sitting behind, first I want to ask, Nirmala, do you see the energy around Gina? How is the experience for you? Because your presence there is very significant during those transmissions.
And I've just explained that when we're actually doing the transmission, which is accompanied by music, when we do it online, I push my chair back just because we both tend to move our arms around a lot.
Okay.
but I didn't put my be kind of like that. So I sit back a little bit. We can both hold our hands up without bumping into each other.
Okay.
So that's why
I didn't know that.
No, probably nobody knew that. Nobody's ever asked us that.
I thought there was like a higher plan behind this.
Yeah. No, in fact, when we first started, Gina used to move her chair back.
Because I'm more shy. I'd rather not be seen. I'd rather have a bag over my head.
But when I'm doing the transmission, I'm actually not focused so much on Gina. I focus actually a lot on the camera, though what happens after a while is my vision gets very altered.
Oh.
When I'm transmitting the.
How is it? Can you describe it to me? I'm very curious.
Yeah, it's like everything just goes out of focus, and I just feel like these surges of energy is one word you could use for it, presence, love, light, just flowing. And then over time, I think that's like really just meant to evoke that same capacity in the people receiving the transmission.
Wow.
Because after a little while, there's not so much a sense of like, something flowing from me or even from Jesus and the other ascended masters, as much as it's just flowing out of the essence, the core of everyone on the call. So that at that
point, are
point,
you losing the sense of self when you are in this moment, or no?
Yes.
Yeah. There's a kind of a dissolving into that group experience
Oh, it's
and
beautiful.
beyond. I mean, a lot of times even
Beautiful.
beyond.
That's so
Yeah, that's what happened.
beautiful. That's why I felt this so much every time I was connecting with this. And I literally looking through Gina's eyes, I felt like he's looking at me. That
Yeah.
presence is
Uh,
touching me through your eyes.
yeah.
You see, I'm
Jesus.
crying now. Like I felt this, like even this picture in between two of you, it's just, ooh, because your music also, the frequency of the music that
Yeah.
you chosen, I don't know, guys, how you chosen, but I have to tell you, this music itself transformed this planet.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And Jesus is looking out of my eyes. I'm not really there. I step aside, and that's truly my experience. And I'm not really seeing out of my own eyes. I'm Jesus is looking at the camera, and there's a deep absorption in Jesus's energy, and I'm just really enjoying the energy. It's the same energy that I experience when I channel or when I listen to my channeling. You know, it's you kind of know him from that, and so then I get immersed in his energy. It's like, you know, in the beginning I raise my arms up and bring
Yes.
my arms down, and that's symbolic of him, his energy entering or overlapping my energy, and then I become him, and that's my
Oh,
experience. That wasn't my experience when I started, and we used to keep our eyes closed. So when we began to open our eyes, which Jesus suggested we do, it was about
wow,
9 months ago or so,
No, longer than
wow.
that.
it became a lot more powerful for me.
Wow. I mean, yes, I cannot imagine you with closed eyes. I can't because I no, it's just
I was just shy. I was
I
so
just
confident.
look at your eyes when I tap into those because I knew I have to. I just knew I have to. And you know, I tell you how I experienced this from the participant standpoint. Let's say this way. I feel, oh, I will cry now, for real. I feel like his laugh is so powerful, but not in a way like, oh, cuddly, cuddly. No, his laugh is so powerful in this way of certainty and grounding and
Yes,
beautiful righteousness and this consciousness of like, yes, you can, I am with you. It's like a laugh
yes.
of the warrior, I would say. And
There's a
it's like,
strength.
yes,
Yes,
strength.
there's a strength to it, a solidity, a
Yes,
directness and
yes,
strength.
yes. Like he's like, you'll be okay. I am with you. I literally feel like this. It's not like, oh, you know.
Well, that's what I feel too. That, you know, exactly. I completely agree. It's not it's not an emotional love. There's strength, there's courage mixed in.
Yes,
as a matter of
yes.
fact, when I'm transmitting, sometimes I feel like the subtlety of the energy changes somewhat, and then he's like transmitting strength at some point, or strength transmitting patience at some point, or compassion or love. It kind of switches around sometimes between those various qualities of our divine nature: strength, compassion, courage, wisdom, kindness, patience, love. All of those things that we do experience Jesus and our higher being as, um, they're all the same, really. They're all the same. They're the facets of the diamond. And yeah, so I think there is that strength and
Yes.
solidness mixed
And
into his
I
energy.
think it's so beautiful that you have been blessed. So now you can bless others with this. And
Mhm.
you are using your life and your energy and you making a choice to help others to evolve and to expand and to you know, their consciousness to reach another level and to wake up, to wake up. And I want to ask both of you, because I'm going to attach all the links to Gina's website and your work and your wonderful books. But what I would like to ask you, how do you see the future of humanity from this standpoint where we are? And I know it's ever changing and there are many possibilities, endless, but in your hearts, how do you see this? What is the advice you would give to the viewers to follow?
Be present, be here now. I say don't focus on the future. We don't know.
Except in being here now, you can hold a really strong intention for, like Gina was saying earlier, instead of making a decision, just hold an intention, a really strong intention to know what you need to know. And you can hold a strong intention to receive the transmission. That's it. I was going to say, all we do is hold a really strong intention to be a channel for that transmission. So in respect to your question about the future, what you can do now is hold a really strong intention that that the planet be healed, that
Yes.
your loved ones, get the help or the healing or the spiritual growth that they need in this life. And so you can set that intention without actually feeling like you have to do it.
Yeah.
Instead, you set the intention to open to grace, to open to the flow of divine grace.
And be your best self now, because then you'll be guided to do your life purpose. If everybody did their purpose, everybody played their role, that's all we could do. That's all we're expected to do. We need to be responsible for our own choices in our own life and make choices that are in alignment with our divine self, our soul's plan. And then, the rest is up to God. The rest is up to everybody else. And where this goes, we don't know. And I think that people can make a mistake focusing too much. And I think a lot of channeling is focusing too much on the future.
Okay.
It's confusing to people, and it is no way to advance you spiritually to focus on the future. We have to be here, be present, learn to be present, learn to raise your own vibration, meditate, do what you feel moved to do to help, to give love, to be loving, to be the best person you can be, to do what you came here to do. And that's the work. That's the work. And
the good news is that no matter what happens, we're all going to be perfectly fine.
Yeah, and I love this. Yes.
Yeah, our consciousness can't be harmed, and in fact, it will be profoundly enriched by whatever happens. The good moments, the bad moments, the good outcomes, the so-called bad outcomes. All of that adds to the richness of consciousness, to the richness of our soul. So, no matter what, it's it's all gonna turn out great because that's the only direction that the consciousness goes. It expands, it grows, it changes by growing.
But don't you think this is the time of the true journey to the heart right now? Those times that humanity is finding the way back to where the true power lies. And I point at heart, but it's the energy really. It's really to relearn how to love.
Yeah, definitely. This seems to be an intensified moment in history in our human evolution. So certainly, those are great moments to make a huge shift, a huge breakthrough. But if you miss it this time, it will come around again.
And I think
we're all going to be okay.
I love it.
And I think a lot of us, our souls chose to come to this world right now.
Yes.
In order to experience it and to be of service.
Yes.
During this time in whatever capacity we can be, in terms of raising consciousness that's what our work is about, essentially. But everybody's got their part to play.
Including our dog, by the way, if you're
I
hearing.
want to ask about those two most beautiful, sweet, perfect dogs, because
One
they
of them
are
is
perfect.
snoring.
Can you hear him snoring?
No, but that's perfect. I want to ask, what are their names? Because I never heard their
You
names.
want to grab a
Oh,
jeans?
thank you. Oh my gosh. I love dogs so much. Thank you so much. They are boys or girls?
This is Rocky. He's the one that
Oh,
was
so
snoring.
sweet. Thank you. Oh my God. This is the treat. Thank you. Oh, they are so sweet. So how did they happen in your life? Please tell me. I'm a huge dog lover. How did they happen? How they show up?
Oh, we had dogs before, and when they got old and it was their time to leave, we just decided we didn't want to stop having dogs, so we found these guys.
They're a huge part of our happy life.
Yes.
Dogs are great. They're great healers.
Oh, they are the best. And what are the names? What are the names, Gina?
Raphael, and Rumi, like the poet.
So two
Rumi.
boys. Two boys.
Two boys.
Yeah, two boys.
Two boys.
So
And they're related. They're uncle and nephew.
Oh, a family. They share the blood. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
How okay. Do you communicate with them? How you communicate with them? I'm sure you communicate with them. You do?
It's just, there's often just a sense of knowing, and of course you live with anyone after a while. You can, they look at you and oh, he wants this, or,
They're very good communicators.
I love them. I love them. I tell them, I have to tell you, I love dogs so much. It's like,
so much.
I want to dedicate some part of my life helping dogs to have temporary home and the owner not to pay for this home when they go through life challenges. So it's one of my visions in the future. Yeah, this is the future. The present future. but
it's okay to hold intentions for a good future, and then hold them lightly. Then let grace.
I just love dogs so much. There is so much unconditional love and so much beautiful companionship.
Yeah, I have this fantasy that I said to God, okay, I'll go down to earth if they have dogs and music.
And you have both amazing music, and you play piano, Gina, right? Can you play? I think you can play piano.
I used to play piano. Yeah, that was a big part of healing myself as a child. I would play Moonlight Sonata and sad, dreamy classical music as a way of expressing all of my inner sadness.
So
my drama.
How you live in Sedona, and I haven't visited Sedona yet. Why did you choose Sedona? Is it because of the energy of that area, or it just happened?
It's just an incredibly beautiful place, and we actually live not too far from here, and we used to we used to do spiritual retreats here. And then halfway through, every time when we gave one of those retreats, halfway through, we kind of look at each other and go, why don't we live here?
Yeah, we would rent several houses here and have a retreat here and do the retreat in the house that we were staying at, and other people would stay in other houses. And we did that for several years, and then we thought, wow, why don't we live here?
And it's actually a good story. At the time, we were renting a house in Prescott, which is an hour and a half away. We were renting a house that her brother purchased as an investment, and then he rented it to us. And after one of those retreats, when we said to each other, why don't we live in Sedona? We came home, and out of the blue, her brother called us on the phone and said, I've been thinking about it. I want to sell the house in Prescott and buy another house in Sedona, and you can rent that one for me.
This is this perfect timing for intuition, right, Gina?
Yeah.
It's like perfect timing. It just unfolds and unfolds, and then it comes the moment, and then you are in Sedona.
Yeah. It just happened just like that.
Yeah.
So
There's lots of grace and support. But I think for everyone, when they're aligned with their plan, there's support there if you're willing to receive it. We had to be
And then
willing
when
to
you're ready, yeah,
willing
when
to
you're
rent a
ready, you
house.
meet the right partner like Nirmala. It's just at the right time.
Yeah.
Everything at the right time. So before I thank you for this time, what really struck me from this conversation, what really came to me is like, you are very evolved over the emotions that a lot of humans still don't manage or understand. Do you ever feel frustration or discomfort? Or because I feel like you're above it. I feel like you are with us here, but you are so, you don't give energy to those emotions that can throw you all over the place. So how is
That's
it?
a good way of,
How
that's
is
a
it?
good way of putting it.
It's true.
If you just don't give them energy, they still, you know, you still have a normal human nervous system, and
You
you still
do?
have
You do?
all those, yeah, all those layers of conditioning. You
Well,
just don't give them energy, so they don't take hold. They don't last very long.
Okay.
yeah, you're so clear that a thought is just a thought and it's not even your thought. That if a thought of frustration or annoyance or even fear comes up, you're just like, ignore it. I mean, it's just easy to just pass it by. Or if you do get caught in it, you're just not caught in it for long at all. It just can't go deep. It's just you see it instantly and you laugh at it. So
So
that, there's just a lightness around the human situation that actually you can enjoy your humanity. I mean, we laugh at each other's like, I mean, we still say things that human beings say, like, "Oh, I hate that," but we're saying it with a smile. We're laughing at each other. We're not suffering over, "I
no,
hate
I
that."
cannot, because you are
Yeah.
truly, when I watch this, you are embodying Jesus' words. And he teaches from your books, especially, there's a lot of messages about emotions, how to understand emotions. And for me personally, I am very emotional person, very emotional. I feel a lot. And to find this balance has been a challenge, I
Well, we
feel.
have a few years on you.
I've had more
We've
years
had a
to
lot of
sort of
years,
figure it out.
a lot of years to practice the spiritual principles. So,
and being emotional is actually can be a great gift, because if you just drop deeper into those emotions. Earlier I said it's all love, right? It's all these really core essential qualities like compassion and love and strength and clarity. Our emotions are like, when we're not so in touch with that, we kind of overcompensate. But if you can just stay with the energy of the emotion, it will sometimes literally kind of open up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like sadness will open up into compassion.
Wow, that's beautiful. You're transforming this.
Yeah, without having to repress it or get rid
Mhm,
of it or fix
mhm,
it or
mhm.
change it.
Without judgment, right?
Yeah, you just
Without judgment.
go to the core of it, to the essence of it. You know, the reason you're sad is because you're capable of feeling compassion.
Yes.
You know, you care in a
Yes.
sense. Yeah.
Yes. I want to, from the bottom of my being, I want to thank you for, I will get emotional, for your service.
well, that's a good emotion.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
See, and that one's easy to drop into the depth of it because it
because
feels
I feel
good.
like I know you, and there's so many people who come across you and you will never maybe see their faces and interact with them, but I think you can feel the gratitude for your work. I'm just very deeply grateful.
Thank you.
Uh, and thank you for
Yeah.
having us and having
And
this nice.
and I will continue on this journey and contribute in my own way. to the
Yeah,
best of
and you're welcome.
humanity.
Like I said, we do the transmissions now 4 times a week. So, you know,
Okay.
if you want to stop back by again, it's every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Wow, you have
It's really only 50 minutes. You know, I think that's one reason it works well for people. It's something they don't have to get dressed up for. They don't have to go anywhere. They don't even have to pay anything. It takes 50 minutes of their time, and you know,
Yeah, it's by donation.
It's
So
easy.
But
the donation.
exactly, but that's also, well, two things. Actually, it was because of you that I learned how to use Zoom.
Oh yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, that's how we do it. We use
Because I
the-
have to do it, otherwise I will not connect. So I learned, and then there were days when I was able to contribute more. There were days when I was doing less, and there were days when I couldn't. The weeks when I couldn't. And what I love about your work is that there is no sense of obligation or pressure, but it really comes from this goodness and this generosity of the higher purpose of this, truly. So I thank you for this too, because we know nowadays, especially, not everyone is in the position to pay certain amount, and it's so
yeah.
so good that you are doing like this. It's open. It's not like, you know, it's limited.
Well,
Absolutely.
life provides, and we've seen that in our lives, that if you're willing to give and just do your best at whatever you're meant to be here for, that life supports you, and so you can freely give. It never, and especially easy these days with the internet, isn't it? Because
Yes,
it
yes.
doesn't cost
Such a
us to
blessing. Yeah.
have you come. So yeah.
Thank you
It's,
again, Gina and Nirmala. God bless you. Thank you so
God
much.
bless you too.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
And I will send you the link if you want to share. And I will post the, maybe not all the books, because there's 30.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, or you can post a link to our websites and they can find the
Yes,
books.
and they can click there. Thank you. And it's on Amazon, so anyone can get it. And there are sometimes, Gina, you offer like for some books for free, actually.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's one of the books in the Jesus trilogy is free for signing up for my newsletter.
Yes. So,
Mhm.
and then it's
And then
like,
there's a couple other there's one other book called Radiance that's free on Amazon.
but when you start, you will not stop on one, I tell you. So it's just the beginning. And on YouTube too. You are on YouTube too. Your voice is recorded and there are messages from Jesus. But transmissions are my favorite. Transmissions are my favorite.
Yeah, there's over 130 messages on YouTube. 15-minute, 20-minute messages.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I really appreciate your time and showing me your beautiful dogs, and all the best.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.